Hi everyone, welcome to another episode here with us at Wild Arena. We've come down to the wolves this morning to see how they're getting on, and as you can see we've picked a lovely morning for it. But in fairness, these guys work just as well in winter as they do in summer. The lovely thick coats that they've now put on, and if you turn the pictures black and white, actually it really lends itself to it in this sort of weather. Most of you will know we've been following the wolves quite closely this year, simply because they had 5 beautiful cubs back in the spring, and those cubs, as you'll see from the video, are now fully grown. Some of them are bigger than mum and dad now, but they're still relatively young, so they're still able to stay together as a pack. So there's 7 wolves here now, which makes a fantastic picture opportunity.
So we've come out into the studio on a day where the weather's not quite so nice, and today we want to do some video clips of some of the new animals in our animal collection here. So we're just going to be getting some of the guys out and doing some little video clips so you can see the kind of animals that we currently are getting in new as part of our collection. Video's a really nice idea because it means that we can show these guys off in a really nice way, and we're using just the Canon EOS R body fitted with the EF 100mm macro lens with the EF RF lens adapter, and that will work perfectly well. And we've got the camera set up to shoot video at 25 frames a second, which is a pretty normal frame rate, manual exposure mode. And the settings we've got at the moment are manual exposure mode, 1/50th of a second, and then f20 on the aperture to give us lots of depth of field with an ISO of 1600. And we can flex those aperture ISO controls, vary the lighting a little bit just to get some sort of position that we're happy with. Higher ISO on these kind of bodies for video shots is not too much of a problem, and you can see the kind of shot that we're getting as a live feed just from the camera there up onto the screen behind me. So we're getting some nice close-up detailed shots. This is a little female jungle nymph, not adult yet, a immature female. The green colour is starting to come through, but she's great in terms of being very good at sitting still, which when I'm talking to you guys is obviously a very useful thing. Now, most of the time when we're photographing in the studio, we're using just the regular 100mm macro lens. This is the L series version in an EF mount on the body with an EF RF adapter. But just so you can get an idea of what that's capable of doing, we've got the camera set up now on the little jungle nymph, pushed into its minimum focusing distance. And at that closest possible range, which is about 30 centimeters on this lens, we're able to photograph down to very small subjects filling the frame. So I guess this guy's face is probably about 6, 7, 8 millimeters across, and you can see very large in the frame. Now, we are shooting in video mode, and because we're in 4K on this particular body, with that 4K resolution, we get a little bit of a crop. So we're getting a little bit of a leg up in terms of how big our small subject ends up looking in the picture. If we were to change that quality setting through to just standard HD. So let's just go through to something like 25 frames per second in full HD. Then the shot's a little bit wider because we're losing that crop factor that we're gaining by shooting 4K. Some of the newer bodies won't be doing that, but the R still has that little bit of a crop. Doesn't make any difference, but it does make the lens a little bit tighter for macro. So actually in this scenario, that's actually quite useful. But you can see we're getting some really nice, tight, close details, which is pretty good for most of the things that we're doing. So we've got the camera mounted on a nice, big, heavy video tripod, just to give it lots of stability. And we're using a video head to give us smooth movements, pans and tilts, so that we can move the camera around. And I've also introduced a focusing rail in between the camera and the tripod, just to give me an extra plane of movement. This enables me to push the camera backwards and forwards and just get some different kind of composition. So I'll try and demonstrate that quickly. We could, from this shot on the screen, pull that camera back. Obviously, as the camera moves further away, then we need to refocus the picture so we can get a wider shot. But at the same time, I can push the camera forward, so I can adjust the movement on that focusing rail right the way forwards. Get the camera closer means that I get a tighter picture. There we go, just refocus that. All of that, of course, without having to move the tripod or without having to move the subject. Hopefully we're going to film a few different things today. Maybe we're going to look at one of the new arrivals here today. We've got some red spot milk frogs come in the last few months, and they're looking really cool at the moment, so I might do a few shots of those guys. And maybe some of the other little guys too, some mantis maybe, things like that. So I hope you enjoy those pictures. We'll share a few of those pictures with you, and hopefully you can see the kind of setup that we've been using here today.